Hostels are supposed to feel like a second home. Rooms full of friends, late-night conversations, laughter echoing through the halls. But when the lights go out and everyone falls asleep, something changes. The silence feels heavier. Every small sound feels louder. And sometimes you realize you're not the only one awake, because hostels hold more than just students. They hold stories, memories, and sometimes things that never left. Tonight, you'll hear 3 terrifying hostile horror stories from people who experienced something they can never forget. Story number 1. Armin had just moved into his new hostel room at the start of the semester. It was an old building with long, narrow hallways and rooms that all looked the same. His roommate hadn't arrived yet, so he had the room to himself for the first few nights. At first, everything felt normal. The usual noise of students talking, doors opening and closing, footsteps echoing through the corridors. But after midnight, the atmosphere changed completely. The halls went silent. Too silent. Too silent. One night, around 2 a.m., Armin woke up suddenly. He didn't know why at first. Then he heard it. A soft knocking sound, slow, deliberate, coming from inside the room. He sat up in bed, his heart beating faster. The sound came again. Knock, knock, knock. Armin looked around, confused. The door was closed. The windows were shut. There was no one there. He got up slowly and checked the door. Nothing. When he turned back toward his bed, the knocking came again. This time louder. He froze. The sound was coming from under his bed. Armin's breath grew heavy as he slowly stepped back. The knocking continued, steady, almost like someone was trying to get out. He didn't dare look underneath. Instead, he grabbed his phone and turned on the flashlight, shining it toward the floor. The knocking stopped instantly. Silence filled the room. Armin stood there, staring at the bed. And then, slowly, something moved. The bedsheet shifted slightly, as if something underneath had just turned. Armin ran out of the room without looking back. The next day, he requested a room change immediately. When he asked the warden about the room, the warden hesitated, then told him something unsettling. A student had gone missing from that very room years ago. They never found him, not even inside the building. Story number 2. Sarah had been living in the hostel for months, and she was used to the late-night routine, studying, scrolling on her phone, occasionally hearing distant footsteps in the hallway. But there was one thing she could never get used to: the bathroom at the end of the corridor. It was always colder than the rest of the building, and the lights flickered constantly. One night, around 3 a.m., Sarah woke up feeling thirsty. Reluctantly, she grabbed her bottle and walked toward the bathroom to refill it. The hallway was dark and quiet, with only a few dim lights on. As she stepped inside the bathroom, the door creaked loudly behind her. The mirrors reflected the empty space, and the sound of dripping water echoed softly. Sarah moved toward the sink, trying to ignore the uneasy feeling in her chest. As she filled her bottle, she heard something behind her, a soft whisper. She froze. It sounded like someone calling her name. Slowly, she looked up into the mirror. At first, she saw nothing unusual, just her own reflection. But then, something appeared behind her, a figure, standing in the far corner. Sarah turned around quickly. The corner was empty. When she looked back at the mirror, the figure was closer now, still behind her, but there was no one there in real life. Her hands started shaking. The whisper came again, louder this time, right next to her ear. Sarah dropped the bottle and ran out of the bathroom. As she reached the hallway, she glanced back one last time, and in the mirror, she saw the figure standing right at the door, watching her leave. The next morning she told her friends, but they brushed it off, until one of them quietly mentioned that a girl had once died in that bathroom, late at night. Story number 3. Billy worked as a part-time hostile guard, responsible for keeping an eye on the building during the night. His job was simple: walk through each floor, check the doors, make sure everything was locked. Most nights were uneventful, but one night, around 4 a.m., he noticed something strange. One of the rooms at the end of the hallway was slightly open. That was unusual. All rooms were supposed to be locked at that hour. Bilal approached the door slowly and knocked. No response. He pushed the door open gently and stepped inside. The room was dark, empty. The beds were neatly arranged, and there was no sign of anyone inside. Bilal frowned and turned to leave, but as he reached the door, it slammed shut behind him. The sound echoed loudly in the room. He rushed to open it, but the handle wouldn't move. Panic set in as he tried again and again. Then he heard it, breathing, slow, heavy, coming from somewhere inside the room. Bilal turned around slowly. The room was still empty, but the breathing continued. Closer now. He felt a cold presence behind him. His body froze. Then, something brushed past him, fast. He spun around, but saw nothing. The breathing stopped. Suddenly, the door unlocked by itself and swung open. Bilal didn't wait. He ran out into the hallway, his heart pounding. The next morning, he reported the incident to the management. They listened quietly, then told him something he would never forget. That room had been sealed for years. No one was allowed to stay there. When Bilal asked why, they simply said, because no one ever stays there for long. Hostels may feel alive during the day, filled with voices, laughter, and movement. But at night, when everyone is asleep, they become something else. Because sometimes, the sounds you hear aren't coming from other students, and sometimes, the things you see aren't reflections or shadows. So if you ever find yourself awake in a hostel late at night, listening to the silence, just remember, you might not be alone.